95% of the world's internet doesn't travel through satellites. It doesn't float in the cloud. It runs through cables thinner than a garden hose, sitting unprotected on the ocean floor. No guards, no fences, no armor, just glass wrapped in plastic, carrying $9 trillion a day across the bottom of the sea. And someone is cutting them. In the last 18 months, more than a dozen submarine cables have been severed across 3 oceans. In almost every case, no one was punished, because proving a ship dragged its anchor through a cable on purpose is nearly impossible. To understand why this matters, you need to see what a submarine cable actually is. The core, the part carrying all the data, is a bundle of glass fibers, each thinner than a human hair. Pulses of laser light bounce through these fibers at nearly the speed of light, crossing entire oceans in milliseconds. The finished cable is about 17 millimeters across, roughly the diameter of a garden hose, and inside that hose flows 95% of all intercontinental data, every email, every bank transfer, every video call that crosses an ocean, connecting every continent except Antarctica. Near coastlines, cables are plowed into the seabed for protection, but once they reach deep water, hundreds or thousands of meters down, they simply lie on the ocean floor, exposed, unburied. Thousands of kilometers of the world's most critical infrastructure, resting on mud and rock with nothing between it and whatever passes above. November 17th, 2024. 2 submarine cables in the Baltic Sea go dead within hours of each other. The BCS East-West Interlink, Lithuania to Sweden, Sea Lion 1, Finland to Germany. 1,500 kilometers of critical European infrastructure. Severed in a single night, investigators identified a suspect within days. A Chinese cargo ship called Yi Peng Three. Its tracking data showed it passing directly over both cable routes at the exact time of each break. Western intelligence believed the ship dragged its anchor across the seafloor, but the Yi Peng Three was in international waters. The Yi Peng Three sat anchored in a Danish shipping lane, while diplomats argued over who had jurisdiction to board it. When investigators finally got access in December, with Chinese officials watching, they found nothing conclusive, no proof of deliberate action. The ship sailed away. 8 days later, Christmas Day, a tanker called the Eagle stayed Cook Islands flag. U-18 registration. India, suspected ties to Russia's shadow fleet, dragged its anchor across the Baltic Sea floor for 62 miles. 4 cables severed in a single pass. On board, investigators found Russian-language laptops and sensor equipment that had no business being on an oil tanker. Finland seized the ship, filed criminal charges, and the court threw them out. Prosecutors couldn't prove intent. Dragging an anchor for 62 miles might have been negligence, not a crime. The crew was released. The ship was freed. Case closed. This is the genius of cable sabotage. It's the perfect grazing weapon. Any ship with an anchor can do it. Attribution is nearly impossible. International maritime law wasn't built for this, and the damage is very real, not a flaw. A trade-off, but surely 600 cables crisscrossing the globe means plenty of redundancy. If one goes down, traffic reroutes to another. That's how the internet was designed, to survive a nuclear war. Here's why that assumption is dangerously wrong. Submarine cables don't spread evenly across the ocean floor. They cluster. They converge at narrow choke points, the same straits and channels where shipping has always concentrated. The Strait of Malacca, Bab el-Mandeb at the mouth of the Red Sea, the Luzon Strait between Taiwan and the Philippines cut the cables at one choke point. And you don't lose one line, you lose dozens. We know this isn't theoretical. December 26, 2006, 2 magnitude 7 earthquakes struck off the coast of Taiwan in rapid succession. Underwater landslides ripped through the Luzon Strait, the single most concentrated cable corridor in Asia. 8 cables, more than 20 breaks. Internet across East Asia collapsed. Financial systems froze. International calls dropped to silence. It took weeks to restore. That was an earthquake. Now consider what happens when humans target these choke points deliberately. Early 2024, the Red Sea became a war zone. Houthi forces attacked commercial shipping, and then 4 submarine cables went dark. SEACOM, TGN Gulf, Asia, Africa, Europe 1. Europe-India Gateway, 25% of all data between Asia and Europe. Severed. Nobody claimed responsibility. The Houthis denied it. The cables may have been snagged by anchors from disabled ships drifting through the combat zone. It doesn't matter. The cables were down and fixing them. That's its own nightmare. There are fewer than 70 cable repair ships on the entire planet. These aren't ordinary vessels. They carry thousands of meters of spare cable, deep-sea grappling systems, and remotely operated vehicles that work at crushing depths. You can't improvise one, you can't charter one, and you definitely can't build one fast. The average cable repair takes 40 days. That's from the moment a cable goes dark to the moment it's restored, including weeks of sailing just to reach the break. Each repair costs $1 to $3 million. And if multiple cables fail simultaneously in different oceans, the repair fleet simply doesn't have the capacity, and the fleet is shrinking. 2/3 of all cable repair ships will reach the end of their service life by 2040. The industry needs $3 billion in investment just to maintain current capacity. That money isn't coming. We're not treading water. We're sinking while the repair fleet decays. Someone is investing in the opposite direction. Researchers at institutions linked to China's People's Liberation Army have been filing patents for submarine cable cutting devices for over a decade. Deep-sea optical cable shears, towed cutting systems, retrieval mechanisms designed to locate, sever, and remove entire sections of cable from the ocean floor. Now look at a submarine cable map of East Asia. More than 10 major cables pass through the Luzon Strait, the narrow channel between Taiwan and the Philippines. These carry the vast majority of data connecting East Asia to the global internet. Taiwan alone depends on these cables for 97% of its international connectivity. This keeps engineers up at night. Now, imagine a coordinated operation, not one ship dragging an anchor. Multiple vessels positioned at the Luzon Strait, the Strait of Malacca, the South China Sea, all moving simultaneously in a single night. 15 to 20 cables severed at multiple choke points. The repair fleet can barely handle one crisis. It cannot handle fire. What goes dark? Everything. $9 trillion in daily financial transactions, frozen. Military command, channels, severed. EPS augmentation, gone. Cloud services hosting half the world's businesses, unreachable. Emergency response, coordination, not for hours, for weeks, possibly months. Governments are waking up. NATO increased patrols in the Baltic Sea. The United States passed the Undersea Cable Control Act. AI-powered monitoring systems track vessel movements near cable routes in real time. New cables are being planned through alternative routes to reduce choke point dependency. But here's the uncomfortable truth. You cannot patrol the entire ocean floor. You cannot armor a cable that needs to flex with currents for 30 years. You cannot build repair ships fast enough to outpace a coordinated attack. The asymmetry is permanent. Cutting a cable costs almost nothing, and fixing one takes 40 days and millions of dollars. Physics always collects. We built the fastest communication network in human history, and we laid it across the most vulnerable surface on Earth. Every financial transaction, every emergency call, every byte of data that crosses an ocean travels through glass fibers thinner than a hair. Resting on the silent floor of the abyss, we chose speed. We chose efficiency. We chose connection. We don't solve problems. We choose which ones to keep